Ilsien Nisa jixtieq jirringrazzja lil Franks, Chic Med Aesthetic Clinics u Coca-Cola.
Ġġarali.
Għax pers li tħobta minna l-quizzis, nispera li mux fuq s-sess.
Le.
Kenna wieħed.
Infatti, saqsejtkom dak, meta ndirizzajna da s-suġġett u fil-fatt.
Għax set nibża minna jima mux għamilna xie quizzis.
Le, għalek ħanamluħ dan il-program, għax wara li konna minna l-program liħor fejn id-diskutejna ir-relazzjonijiet sessuali, kenna ħafna nies li batunna u bdew jajdunna ma tkellimtu xej u ma diskutejtu xej fuq is-sexually transmitted disease, ix-xogħol li jagħmel il-Geo Clinic illi ħajkunu magħna hawnhekk illum u vera xtaqna nagħmluha li ġvera aħna xi kultant isna noqogħdu naqra lura minn dawn is-suġġetti mhux għall-programm tax ma niddejjaqux niddiskutuhom bejnietna. Fis-soċjetà ma nitkellmux ħafna fuqhom.
Imma mhux ġeneralment minħabba l-istigma ta'. Pereżempju ġieli noqogħdu lura għax qisna niddeċiedu li dawn huma affarijiet il-bot minna u le jiena dik li ma taffettwanix, pereżempju jiena miż-żewġa jew jiena għandi relazzjoni stabbli. U naħsbu li xi ħaġa qisha lil minna, qisha li ma taffettwanix, qisha li mhux se tolqotni. Meta fil-verità ma tafx.
Imma l-infezzjonijiet li jiġu trasmetti sesswalment anka f'relazzjonijiet intimi jeżistu, pero ovvjament f'dak li ħankunu għadin diskutu l-lum naħseb u iktar li sa niżvelaw, iktar ħankunu għadin nindirizzaw l-ammonti ta' infezzjonijiet li jiġu forsi jekk tmur iktar minn ma' persuna waħda. Però insomma dwar dan sa tisimgħuna niddiskutu iktar tard nixtiequ ma nkunux bl-ebda mod li ngħaddu xi ġudizzju lanqas xejn, aħna kull ma rridu nagħmlu ngħaddu informazzjoni, nitkellmu għandna nies bejnietna insomma magħna illi ħajitkellmu l-esperjenza personali tagħhom u ma nistax ma ngħidx ukoll illi waħda mill-affarijiet illi tinvolvi l-infezzjonijiet li huma trasmessi b'mod sesswali hija l-HIV u l-AIDS illi ovvjament din hija l-akbar waħda illi hemm għaliex sa issa għadha ma teżisti l-ebda kura liha. Minkejja dan hemm ħafna affarijiet li ma nafux fuqhom. Intom kif għamiltu dil-ġimgħa naf li kien hemm ħafna paroli u mhux bejnietkom ta' minn nies u involvejna ruħna ħafna fuq ta' Destiny. Xtaqna ngħidu la hello l-ewwel net, insomma, u ngħidu la
aħna mill-ewwel nieħdu il-mother cap u nkunu rridu naqbżu għal dak li jkun. Imma llum taf ħanejdilkom xi ħaġa. Dirit nitgħallima jiena wkoll. Jiena mill-ewwel li għalfejn lek ħallija tubi. Illum qatt il-ħedresa qatt nisma' views differenti. U kieku naħseb nifhmu iktar. Pereżempju kien hemm xi ħadd qal le. Pereżempju xi ħadd qal tħallija tieħu pjaċir. Xi ħadd qal le la sejra tirrappreżenta l-Malta imissa tisma' minna. Xi ħadd ieħor ma jfissirx li qed naqbel miegħu ta' jiena naqbel ħallija tieħu pjaċir jiena ġbitni roża. Jien rajta ħelwa da żgħira hekk tieħu pjaċir tixir ilha ħelwa jisabiħa.
Jien taf x'għidli. Jien taf x'għidli. Għidli kemm ħajkollhom jibilgħu irsienhom 4 nies, 4 minn nies meta u m'għandix dubju fuq għadi you can hold me to it. Issir starta vera. Ma qegħdin ngħidu ġifieri. Le, internazzjonalment qed ngħid jiena. Jiġifieri mhux l-Verità. Ħanajdlek xi kultant ikun hemm dawn l-individwi li jagħmlu ħoss għax vera
jkun. Mhux kulħadd ikun bħażen ta'. Ninduna għax jiena pajtiċċa sata wantem.
Imma min ta' xi ma sax nifhem. Jien min jien biex niddeċiedi jien x'tilbes. Jien min jien.
Imma żomda xejn, imma bad ħanerġa' niġi għall-argument tagħna. Mela jekk xi ħadd jagħti id-dar issa u qed jgħid tara Claire kemm għandha top ikraħ pereżempju jew kemm għandha make-up ikraħ.
Għandha dritt tal-opinjoni, imma m'għandix dritt inċempille u ngħidlek Claire terġax tilbes dak il-flok. Ta' tiġi.
Dak kemm ġrat li
minuta, da ma tiġrix bejnietna.
Tiġri li l-ħin kollu.
Imma tiġrilna aħna bejnietna ngħidlek Claire dawk il-kuluri ara kollox jixraqlek imma dak il-kuluri bejnietna ngħidlek. Imma mela jien xi dritt.
Imma x'aħna hekk. Imma aħna la qegħdin, jiena nemmen li la aħna qegħdin fuq it-televiżjoni u ħriġna liha, pereżempju kien hemm post, kien hemm x'taħseb mill-ibsa ta' se tindaħalx. Dak ma qbilx miegħu jien, ma nistgħux ma nindaħlux aħna naqdu kollha l-dik. Aħna għax aħna qalbna Mediterranja u dbaqbaq għal kulħadd u ħafna minha biex jaqbżu għalija, imma għandhom dritt.
Aħna Malta.
Personalment,
Issa aħna daqskemm qlajna.
Daqskemm
naqla jien. Għalija biex ma naqlax.
Immem differenza u di Malta għandna problema liha u tiġri
Mhux Malta ta' biss.
Le, Malina tiġri niktar ġana poplu żgħir. Aħna u Malta mhux l-opinjoni kulħadd għandu dritt għaliha, imma l-inbidel u aħna hemmhekk tlifna kollox għax aħna Malta għandna l-poter. Li jekk nibda ngħid iżejqun il-karti nippretendi li Malta ma narawx karta mġitma. Le, opinjoni għandu jkolli. Jien nista' ngħid m'oġbitniex l-outfit, oġbitni l-outfit, imma jien min jien biex inbiddilha.
Mhux tweġġa.
Dik dejjem.
Mod u mod kif
imma dik għambat karattru, ġifieri dik kwestjoni ta' ignoranza wkoll.
Hemm il-good fate u hemm il-bad fate.
Imma anke l-good fate.
Ngħid inti bliema intenzjoni qed tgħaddi dak il-kumment biex tikkritika u ttejjeb il dak li jkun.
Bimħabba jew le
jew le. Ultimately, in fondo, it all boils down min qed jagħmilha dik l-opinjoni u kif qed jagħmilha.
U tiġi xtajt li l-libsa bħalma qalu ħafna ħat affettwa l-pożizzjoni tagħna fir-ranking.
Anka il-geographic position u l-Edin Island taffettwa ma xi ħadd għandu kontroll fuqha.
Għandha dik il-vuċi tal-bliħ.
Jew hekk u tixel. Taqarilek jekk ma tilbis libsa tixel għal hemm fejn tilbis.
Mhux hekk.
Ma tista'.
Mela,
tilbisa għalem.
U rridu napprezzaw ukoll li bħal tliet forsi libsa bħal dik le ma toħroġ forsi bija fi triq. Forsi qed ngħid. Ħa nitkellem għalija, jien ma nagħmilix hekk tittamilha inti mhux sewwa.
Għax ħafna qalu kostum. Tiżek.
Jiena performer jiena lek katriċi.
Jiena kemm nagħmilkom appell, jekk ikollhom xi ħaġa l-moda li natqabduni xi għandu ngħid li vera ma nifhimx xi bdejt ngħid hemm kemm ħellu ma wiċċa ħellu.
Ma tifhimx għala, mela
jien oġobni.
Maġġoranza mant.
Iwa insomma ara il-fondo li jiena xorta nibqa' ngħid jekk inti bħala individwu tidħol ġo kamra sabiħa, attrazzata u ħaddejqek is-sufa li rajt mal-art, mela hekk ħadibqa' kemm għall-libsa ta' Destiny, kemm għall-kaqgħu ta' Destiny, kemm għall-kamra li dħalt fiha. U jiena dawk
jiena taf x'għidli kien hemm xi sena Malta internazzjonali lokali barba Malta fejn ma kollha qbilna li l-libsija sabiħa.
Dik oħra.
Ma ġradi.
Dik oħra.
U laqqas qatt se tiġri.
Qatt ma tiġri. La Malta u qas internazzjonali.
Imkien ma ħadd tiġri dik. Ġifieri that is to get things going.
Issa jiena sa nistidinkom taqilbu naqra il-lingwa għax issa anke intom moħħkom switch għax din l-intervista sa nagħmluha bl-Ingliż għaliex il-persuna li għandna magħna huwa Danis mhuwiex Malti. Però ma stajniex ħafna
Malti jitkellem
Ingliż faċli. Ma stajniex ma nġibuh ngħidilkom għalfejn, għaliex huwa l-unika persuna li naf jien għalmenu illi huwa HIV positive u jista' għandu ovvjament wasal fi stat illum fejn għadda mill-snin li ma setax jitkellem dwarha u jista' jitkellem dwarha u minn għandu ħanitalmu ħafna għaliex meta tkellem il xi ħadd li qed jesperjenza xi ħaġa b'mod personali titgħallem ħafna. Sfortunatament Maltin ovvjament nifmu wkoll li mhijiex faċli li jkollna Malti li huwa HIV positive u li lest li juru wiċċu u ħaniddiskutuha wkoll, però hemm irridu naslu u ħanaraw għalfejn illum. Ibqa' magħna niltaqgħu minn ftit ħin ieħor ħallaqgħakom permezz dal-video mal-mistiden tagħna.
So hi, I am Chris Vincent. I am an HIV activist from Denmark and I am currently in the beautiful city of Valletta in Malta to ask people to hug me. I'm trying to break the silence about having HIV and that you can be a perfectly, well, kind of normal individual having a happy life and still like hugs. Let's see what happens now.
How was that experience for you, Chris? Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. That was an amazing experience to have. Doing that demands you being very fragile, very open, and having someone hug you. I think I say that in the video as well. In that moment is such a such a revitalizing experience. Yeah.
Of course, this was one of the things that first attracted a lot of attention to someone like you who is openly talking about it.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you coming here and sharing your story with us. I think initially we need to start ask you, of course, it was not always like this for you to be so open about being HIV positive. So how did it start and how did you get to this stage?
So I got HIV back in 2014, and I was, when I found out, I got anonymously tested, and I found out 2 days before my graduation as an actor at acting school. So what was supposed to be my first step into, say, my professional life became sort of an existential crisis. It took me 4 years, so it was not until 2018. I had to move out of Denmark.
4 years to accept it, you mean, or to come to terms with?
So what I had to do was, in the first 2 years, I was trying to sort of getting into a mindset of accepting this. I knew that I'd physically be fine.
Okay.
Yes, it was just I knew how difficult it is with the stigma, and I have to carry the weight of you looking, at it, this kind of thing. And after a couple of years, I couldn't take it anymore. I actually moved out of Denmark, and I thought I need to go somewhere where nobody has an idea of who I am or what I am, and just start from scratch. So I moved to Amsterdam.
Okay.
And in Amsterdam in 2016, I found a new circle of friends and a new way of being, where people would ask, so who are you? And this is an amazing opportunity when nobody has an idea of who you are. You can just go, who am I? So I started finding myself again slowly. And then in 2018, I had come to a point where I was just so tired of having to lie about who I was, and I decided to come out.
And how did you do that?
So,
to who first?
So first, before doing it publicly, I wanted to tell my family, specifically my mom. My mom is Italian, but she lives in Denmark, and I was living in Amsterdam at the time, and it took me a lot of courage, sort of. I had to build up a lot of courage, because what you have to know is, at least in my example, I felt that I needed to be strong enough to carry sort of potentially my mother's worry. So I needed to feel strong enough to tell her I'll be fine.
Okay.
So you carried the burden for 4 years alone?
Yeah, alone in the sense that at a certain point I started, a select few in Amsterdam. I would start talking about it. Some of my best friends in Denmark would know. But it's this omission game. If you talk about a coming out experience, you will often hear that people omit pronouns, or they will kind of, abide the truth. And I felt that I had to do the same thing. Like, even just when people ask me, so why did you come to Amsterdam? I wouldn't just say, oh, I got HIV in 2014 and I didn't feel good about myself, so I left. I didn't have the courage, to do that. So when I finally found the time and the place to tell my mom, it was this whole long monologue. I had to do it over Skype.
Oh my God.
This was before Corona even. So.
Okay.
And I told her and I explained to her what I have been going through, and I just made very sure that I wanted her to know that I am happy. I'm in a good place in my life. I am perfectly healthy. I take my medication every day, and thus I am completely fine. But I want you to know, because you're my mom.
Sorry for asking, but how did she take it?
And I said this, and then there was a slight pause, and the only thing she said was, I love you. And I cried. My mom is definitely one of my greatest support. Like, I've done crazy things in my life, and she's always had my back.
Yes,
parents. Parents are the best. At least my mom has been an amazing support.
In fact, I think because of that, it's you are where you are today. You're doing a lot of work to raise awareness on it, to remove the stigma. But we'll get to that later, because obviously, and in fact, I want to tell the public that we are going to get to the actual questions, but what medication do you have to take? Can you die with this? At what stage does it become AIDS? And all this. We have the person from GU Clinic to ask all those questions too, but we are going to get to the technical bits with that, because there's a lot of misinformation
And do you think, I was going to ask him if you think that would be where the fear is coming from. Like, for example, if one of my sons approaches me with something that I don't know about, part of my fear is not going to be accepting, it's going to be, I don't know enough about the situation. So I'm not sure if your mother knew or if she had the information at hand, but could be some of the fear coming from the unknown.
And what is this information that is really important?
Let's to answer your question first, because my mom actually said something I found very, very interesting. She, because I remember, so as I said before, I was preparing myself mentally to carry the weight of my mother's concern. And I remember telling her this, and she said, "Why didn't you just talk to me?" I said, "Yeah, I didn't know how much you would know." I said, "I have a gay son. Of course, I've made my research."
Wow.
And that never occurred to me to be an option. That as a parent, if you have a gay son in this case, or anyone within, you know about your kids. I kind of like, I felt bad for not trusting my mom to actually know more. So to answer your question, I think if it's not part of your life, where would you know about HIV? You've heard about it in the 80s, some people died back then, and it was a horrible thing, and then you hear nothing about it, and then all of a sudden it's here. Of course you don't know anything, because you had no reason to look it up. But if it is part of your life, and this is where we're going to talk about the community later, everyone involved in sex should be at least to some basic level aware of the, I wouldn't say do's and don'ts, but at least the fundamentals, about this. And that's where my questioning in the stigma and the lack of information comes. If you're a person who's sexually active, I wonder why you don't know. I'm not judging you for not knowing, but I do wonder how come you don't access this? Is there no access? Are you not proceed?
I actually said something like this in the introduction of the program. Obviously, you weren't understanding.
Not much.
Because sometimes we draw a conclusion and we say, no, this has nothing to do with my life. I don't even need to know because it's far from my life. And sometimes we decide what's close to us and what is far from us. And then little we know that we could experience anything like this.
And one thing that I always thought about is this. In the 80s, there was this big boom of awareness of on HIV.
It occurred in the 80s, yes. Yeah.
Now, not so much. In my mind, I say there's a cure, there's awareness enough. Is it so?
There's no cure. There's no
Not
cure.
cured, treatment.
There's treatment. No, but there's a really important difference, because once we get it, we're stuck with it. We're stuck with HIV. But because of the advancement of medical treatment, and thank you for asking about that. So for instance, in my let's talk about me. I take one pill every day. This pill will make sure that my HIV won't basically spread in my body. So basically it's containing it in a corner and making sure that my immune system will stay on top.
Okay.
And as long as I keep doing that, as long as I keep doing my taking my medication, I will, until my ordinary death, be fine.
What about relationships and transmission to others?
Thanks for asking that as well. There is a very important terminology that you need to know when we're talking about HIV, and it's the term you equals you. It means undetectable equals untransmittable. So, what does that mean? I'm taking a pill every day, meaning that when you take a blood test from me, that it's visually not there. There's simply that my medication is working so well that it's on such a low amount, it doesn't show, but we know it's there, but it's very low, it's undetectable, that's the word. They made a huge scientific study that was concluded in 2018. It was presented during the AIDS conference in Amsterdam, I remember, and they had done what is called the Partner 2 study. They were researching serodiscordant couples. Now that means that one of these people one part in the couple would be HIV positive, undetectable, so in medication, well treated, and the partner would be negative, so not having HIV.
Okay.
They registered 77,000 condomless intercourses, a very interesting job, by the way, and there were 0 transmissions. 0 out of 77,000 attempts.
Okay.
It sounds weird.
Okay.
77,000 registered intercourses. So they concluded that scientifically, by fact, if you're undetectable, if you're treated well, you cannot pass on the virus.
But the problem, okay,
Yes.
so do we get this? We'll confirm it and we'll say it again, even with Dr. Donia Gamudi, who will be joining us here from the GU clinic, so we understand. So if you are under medication,
Yes.
and obviously you are undetectable because you are under medication, there will be no transmission of the HIV virus to. That doesn't mean that if I am having sex with different people, I'm protected.
From anything else.
I don't know if I'm meeting people who are under medication or who have it and don't know they have it, etc. First of all, how do you know you have it? Only by testing or symptoms-wise?
Both.
Okay.
So this is actually, and this is why it's so crucial that like the culture of getting tested regularly in Malta is something we do need to address, because I think right now people go get tested when they feel the need to. What I would encourage people to do is just do it every 2 or 3 months. It depends on how sexually active you are. If you have sex, get regular testing. And why? Because one, you can have HIV and not have symptoms. If you have HIV and you don't know and you don't have symptoms, you have a very high viral load, meaning that you have a lot of HIV in your blood.
Because you're not getting
Treatment. Because you don't know. We'll get to that. So if you, for instance, if you don't know and we have sex, it will be more potent in such a way. It will be more prone to transmit, and you wouldn't even know. So there's also sort of like, I would feel guilty if I didn't know I had HIV and I had passed it on to someone. You know, that's one aspect. So that's why it's important to get tested, so you can also, that's the next point, get it caught early on. Because the sooner that you get in treatment, the more intact your immune system is for the rest of your life, basically.
Okay.
You can have, I actually had symptoms. I got what is called an acute HIV infection. You can ask Dr. Donia about this. It's nothing nice. It's out both ends. It's fever. I lost a lot of weight. I'm a slim guy already. I was 62, 63 kilos when I finally found out what it was.
So you had symptoms.
So I definitely had symptoms.
And immediately, as soon as you started medication, you got back into.
Very quickly after.
Okay.
Yes.
And lifestyle-wise, if I may ask you, anything that changes from if you don't have HIV? Do you have to watch what you eat? Do you have to train or not train, or stay in the sun, not stay in the sun? Anything else that affects?
But generally a healthy lifestyle. I mean, you don't have to be HIV positive to put that forward. But generally, yes. I mean, at the end of the day, of course, like HIV is human immunodeficiency virus, so it is something that affects my immune system if it's not treated. But now I'm fine. But of course, when that's in the back of your head, you should always, live a healthy lifestyle, whatever that entails. One of the more specific reasons to do that is that if, for instance, if you're and I am, of course, I can say that, I guess on TV, I'm still sexually active, meaning that if I would get something else, one of the other STIs, then there will be a peak viral load, meaning that basically getting something else, if my immune system needs to be activated, it will sort of affect the amount of virus in my blood. So generally, as a rule of thumb, it's good to keep healthy, because even if I get a flu or a cold or something else, it affects my immune system, which feeds off the virus, you know?
Okay.
Yes.
Now, can I ask you something?
Absolutely. All the time.
You're confident about it, you know the subject.
Yes.
You meet different people of different characters. But can you tell us a bit about your experience of being honest when you're in a relationship?
And when do you do that?
Oh.
First, at what point first date?
Okay, I can tell you. So the first guy I dated seriously. It took a while. I have to start there. It took a while because my self-confidence took a blow. Like, I felt unattractive. I remember when I got the answer. I remember looking at my arm. I was looking at my vein. I felt dirty. I felt like I didn't want to be in my own body. Like, it was that. It was that bad compared to now, where I'm like, when I met my now ex, but when I met him, I remember there was this anxiety because I know that I'm okay. I know that I'm fine. I know that everything
like you need
is
to
complete, but
convince
I
someone.
really just want to tell you this and still be perceived as this person that you like. And by now, it's normal, but at the time, it's you know, looking at the hug video, like you're very exposed. And when you present that information, to be rejected, potential, even I'm luckily it didn't happen to me, but even having the potential of being rejected that way is excruciating. Yeah.
So
Did that
this
answer your question?
fear,
Yeah.
this fear was in your head.
I'm watching your hugs. So that's
We're
why.
watching
watching
that.
hugs.
Emotional.
There were a lot of people who hugged you, eh?
Yes.
So a lot of people know that this is, I mean, the transmission of it. First of all, it has to happen sexually and unprotected.
Yes.
Without basically using a condom.
Yes.
Or through oral sex, because we need to.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, it does happen. I really think you should be talking to Donya more
Yes.
about the exact, but I think it's safe to say that anal sex is the most risky.
Okay, but having said that, the
Yes.
numbers and the percentages
Yes.
do not show that gays have more HIV than heterosexuals, as far as I know. No, we have a stats video which we're sharing
yes.
soon.
Yeah.
But I know that there's as many women as men.
Yes. I mean, when we're talking about demographics, we also have to take into consideration which part of the demographic we're looking at. Are you looking at Malta or Denmark or the Netherlands or all of the world?
Europe. In our
So,
case, it's
yes.
Europe. We took it over Europe, so we'll see that. We'll see
So,
that.
yeah.
But Chris, we're gonna ask you to stay here, please,
I'll
as in
stay.
not on our set because of COVID, and we have to let our guests come in.
You can each other, but Charmaine would.
Exactly.
Because of HIV.
So we have more guests we want to obviously develop this subject with,
Absolutely.
but we wish to have you back at the end also to share a few important messages. But we really, really appreciate your honesty and your
thank you.
experience with us.
And you're staying an hour and a half.
Ħankomplu nevolvu ftit dan is-suġġett u naf li jekk forsi jkun hemm xi mistoqsijiet li ma nagħmlux għal xi raġuni jew oħra, jekk jogħġobkom użaw il-paġna tagħna ta' Facebook, ibatulna messaġġi u fejn nistgħu naqdukom dak il-ħin jew jekk le nibatulkom wara l-programm. Ħanifqu għal pawsa qasira ta' riklami kif nidħlu lura niltaqgħu ma' Dr. Gamudi li qiegħda magħna hawnhekk mill-Ġew Clinic. U jien qabel xejn nixtieq nirringrazzja wkoll lill-sponsors personali tiegħi. Grazzi lil Defni Boutique li libsuni llum u lil Vivi Jewelry illi silfuni il-ġojellerija. Grazzi lil Mattea Camilleri li għamlet li l-makeup bi prodotti Guerlain minn Franks, grazzi lil Alexanders li għamil li xari, lil Teja li għamlit li dwiefer, kif ukoll il Sonja Vanessa Gawċi li tuħsib il-kura ta' wiċċi bi prodotti repexaġ u grazzi wkoll il-Bata Azraben.